Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and welcoming poet, writer, curator, and organizer Mahogany L. Browne to Washington State University. I'm Chelsea Ratzliff, an instructor in the English department at WSU Vancouver and co-organizer of the Creative Writers Series. I'd like to begin by thanking our many wonderful partners in this event, the WSU Pullman English Department and College of Arts and Sciences, the WSU Vancouver Library, Office of Equity and Diversity, Office of Academic Affairs, Office of Student Equity and Outreach, the College of Arts and Sciences, as well as WSU Tri-Cities Writing Center, the Common Reading Program, ASWSU, and Landescapes, the Student Literary and Arts Journal. I also want to thank our tech team, Rob Baker and Brian Varner, for making this event possible, as well as the directors and organizers in the series, Pavitra Narayanan, DJ Lee, Cameron McGill, and Peter Chilson. And thank you all in the audience for making the time to be with us. As we remain far-flung in these viral times, we would love to see you put in the chat where you're all from. I come to you from the homelands of the Chinookan and Tadnapam peoples and the Cowlitz Indian tribe. While land acknowledgements are just one step toward honoring Indigenous peoples' presence here since time immemorial, they remind us that our destinies are tied and of all of the vital work that has yet to be done. Mahogany Browne's reading this evening has critical connections to our common reading book this year, Trevor Noah's Born a Crime, which details Noah's account of growing up in apartheid South Africa. Similarly, Browne's work draws from a nation fractured by the violence of racist systems that distort our common humanity. Her poetry holds America accountable to itself, to the true record, while conjuring the candor and audacity of giants like Nina Simone and Fannie Lou Hamer, among others. During her talk, please use the YouTube chat to engage and respond throughout, and we'll also have a Q&A where you can ask all of your questions. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. First, the link to view live captioning is available in the chat. Second, if you're here for the Common Reading event, we will put the Qualtrics link in the chat toward the end of the reading, so be sure to watch for it. The final event hosted by WSU's Visiting Writers Series is this Monday, April 12th at 6 p.m. We will welcome Deborah Magpie Earling, a member of the Salish and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Reservation. She is the author of Perma Red and the Lost Journals of Sacagawea. You will not want to miss it. I will now give the virtual floor to Renee Hollopeter to introduce Mahogany L. Browne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Renee Hollopeter, and I'm a fourth-year student at Washington State University, Vancouver, in the English and Creative Writing departments. And it is an honor to be here introducing our visiting writer tonight, Mahogany L. Browne. When I first engaged with Mahogany L. Browne's poetry, I was struck by her ability to give wings to the English language. Her wordplay and the lyricism of her poetry are true examples of how the spoken word can be crafted to give coherence to our experiences and meaning to our identities. After I heard her performance of This, I was inspired by the way certain poets can remind us that the language of our daily lives and experiences have rhythm, and certain poets remind us that those words are meant to be spoken. Mahogany L. Browne is undeniably one of those poets. Writer, organizer, vocalist, performance poet, and educator, Mahogany L. Browne is the author of poetry and fiction. Her young adult poetry book, Black Girl Magic, celebrates a Black girlhood that is free, unforgettable, and luminous, while her children's book, Woke Baby, is for all the little progressives who grow up to change the world. Both were published in 2018 by Roaring Brook Macmillan. Her poetry collections include Kissing Caskets and the NAACP-nominated chapbook Redbone. She has co-edited the anthology The Breakbeat Poets, Volume 3, Black Girl Magic, declared by Dazed as one of the most important volumes of poetry in recent years. She is also the author of the young adult anthology Woke, A Young Poet's Guide to Justice, co-edited with Elizabeth Acevedo and Olivia Gatwood. Her most recent book is the young adult title Chlorine Sky. Of Redbone, Ross Gay wrote, "What I may love most about Redbone is the way it strains formally, with syntax and diction, with voice and perspective, searching for the right space on the page to make of this complex family story, which, like most family stories, is made of sweetness and plain old hurt, a kind of bearable song. It's such a moving act, such a caring and true telling, such a singing." Born in Oakland, California, Browne dropped out of high school after being told not to write poetry during an honors English class. Using her personal experiences with addiction, racism, sexism, and oppression to inspire her own brand of shameless, authentic work, Browne's spoken word performances create a platform for women and girls to feel empowered and heard. She has an MFA in Writing and Activism from Pratt Institute, where she founded the Women Writers of Color Reading Room and became the director of the Black Lives Matter program. Browne is one of the founders of the socially active literary collective #Black Poets Speak Out with Amanda Johnston, John Terry Gadsden, Jericho Brown, and Sharina Rodriguez Sharp, created out of urgency and as a response to the non-indictment of the Mike Browne murder. Browne is the publisher of Penmanship Books, curator of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe Friday Night Slam, founder of the Women Writers of Color Reading Room, and the director of Black Lives Matter at Pratt Institute, and director at Urban World New York City, a nonprofit youth literary organization. Her work has appeared in Poetry, Bustle, Bet, Academy of American Poets, and other venues. She has also released 5 LPs, including a live album, Shiroshima. She is the recipient of literary fellowships from Agnes Gund, Air Serenbe, Cave Canem, Poets House, and Rauschenberg. Browne has been featured in PBS NewsHour reading her poem Black Girl Magic and in HBO's Brave New Voices. She has toured internationally as a member of Global Poetics and International Arts Exchange. Mahogany L. Browne is the current poetry coordinator at St. Francis College's MFA program, and she resides in Brooklyn, New York. And now it is a great excitement and a great privilege to welcome Mahogany L. Browne.
Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate that. That's such a long bio, oh my goodness. I started listening like, who does all that work? This is Chlorine Sky. I'm very excited to introduce the protagonist. Her name is Sky, or nicknamed Lil, and her life, her story. We are thinking about who she is and how she sees herself in the midst of a fractured friendship, when the only way she knew how to think of herself was as a friend. She has an older sister. She has a cousin who loves her. She has a mother who takes care of them all. And I hope you enjoy the story. I'm just going to jump through it a bit because it is a novel in verse. So when you get to pick up the book yourself, you can read it from start to finish, and hopefully you enjoy. Me and Laylee ain't talking, cause she thinks she cute, cause she think I ain't. Must be pretty boy Curtis, all in her head, all in her mouth, making her forget her home training, making her forget her daddy got a gun for a living, and her mama gone. And this is why I think she ain't got no sense no how, cause ain't nobody but fast girls checking for Curtis, and he keep her name close, and she don't come home the same way no more. She must think she cute, must think I ain't. Like she's Zendaya, Sky Storm, Megan, Nicki, Beyonce or something. Like she long curly hair movie star perfect. Like she perfect pink nail salon pop queen perfect. Like she all new Macy's rack and Adidas shell toe perfect. Like she glossy magazine cover most beautiful girl perfect. Like she ain't never had a bad day in the sun perfect. Like she ain't never had a bad picture kind of perfect. Like she got a life don't nobody judge cause she's so perfect. I mean, look how she keep me waiting. Like I'm supposed to wait on Curtis or something. And I hate his light-skinned self, especially because he ain't funny as he think, especially when he calls me black and ugly and stupid. And Laylee stay grinning like he the sun, like we ain't friends. When they boyfriends see Laylee, it's like they see the best parts of their favorite movie. And their favorite movie got their favorite soundtrack. And their favorite soundtrack make them feel strong. And they swing their arms around and show off to whoever is looking. I mean, sometimes I get caught looking, but I ain't got nothing to say. Not Laylee. She act like she never looking. She must think she cute. But she ain't just cute. Laylee, pretty. And their boyfriends at the skate rink forget they home training around her. So when Curtis say the things I've already said about myself and she laugh, I know deep down inside, she ain't never care about me at all. Laylee the sun, and she called me best friend, called me smart, called me her ace, called me her right hand sis. Laylee called me my name. Ain't never called me nothing but my name. When everyone else call me nothing, she say best friend like sis, partner, friend, and she laugh bright. Because Laylee the sun. Now I know she just said them lies to keep my shadow all up and around her sunshine smile. Like that time we skipped school for the pool party, And all the girls wear bikinis, but I got my one piece on with white t-shirt on top. And the boys just looking like their mama ain't taught them nothing worth knowing. Laylee got that good hair, so she don't care if it's wet and loose. But my hair ain't close to being good. So I keep it in a real tight ponytail until the sun gets so hot. I jump in to cool my sadness down. It's like I already know. So I let my shoulders sink low, like my heartbeat, and I watch Laylee, how she walks and everybody stops, and I'm trying to learn how to walk in a room and turn their heads, how to move in a crowd and be the light, how to keep a boy's interest, but not just any boy, a boy who remembers my name. Maybe a cute one with long eyelashes and gentle hands, the kind of hands that keep to themselves. How to be more than a baller. How to be someone that keeps them guessing. How to stop stressing because ain't nobody got time for the kind of shade I got. But everybody got time for the sun. Laylee smiled at Curtis. And he only a little bit cute. But he ain't funny or smart, so that's how I know her grin is a lie. And I pretend I don't hear his slur. I pretend I don't see his hazel eyes when he say, lose her, ugly, black ass, and Laylee laugh. Laugh like a knife in the back, or laugh like the hysterical girl running from the scary man in a hockey mask, or laugh like kids being followed around the mall by security, or laugh like I do when my sister Issa makes me the butt of the joke. She laughs and laughs and laughs and laughs, and she say, shut up, Curtis. But it sounds like, come here. I dunk my head underwater slow and wait, just wait. I wait even longer for her to say anything like, don't talk about my friend. I don't care how pretty your eyes is, but she just say, shut up. And she laugh. And I think she's laughing the kind of laugh that make me forget we even friends. The kind of laugh that makes me forget we even. And I think I could stay here where it's all blurry aqua blue, where my eyes don't hurt as much and it don't feel like I've been looking at the sun all day long. Laylee's bathing suit is way better than mine. I hate my royal blue one piece. It's a hand-me-down. It's ugly. I'd rather wear my basketball shorts, but they're the only pair I got to keep dry when I walk home. Everybody who knows somebody will skip class for the pool party, and everybody will have a cute bathing suit on. Strawberry red, or bright yellow, or periwinkle blue, or one of those two pieces with candy cane stripes, but not me. I put a t-shirt on top and tried to hide this ugly, basic blue swimsuit. Mine's is long in the crotch, so long the water drains slowly down my leg after I climb out the deep end. I put a t-shirt on top and tried to hide the history of where my people from. The ones that got a pit bull with the chain around its neck and smoke clouds everywhere. I put a t-shirt on top and tried to hide where I come from. The kind of folks that park on the lawn and clean their car with the Gap band blasting out the door speakers. I put a t-shirt on top and hope no one asks where my dad works, where my dad is, why my sister Issa and I always fight on the lawn. I just want to swim in the teal green sort of blue bubble and forget all the things that make me different for a little while. Basketball drills number 1. Both hands grip the orange world. Ridges in black talk back to my fingertips. James, Bird, Bryant, Catchings, Jordan, Leslie, Curry, Hammond, Jackson, Iverson, Johnson. For every letter of their name, I plant my feet, aim, and shoot. If I flick my left wrist perfectly, I'll soar like the greats. After my drills, Laylee and I both sit in the shade on the front lawn of the neighborhood candy house. Miss Irene got white hair and a permanent scowl. She got white hair and a little white lapdog and wears a dusty muumuu. She smokes cigarettes, the white stick hanging from the cliff of her lip like a daredevil. Miss Irene says she ain't got time for us kids and don't let nobody curse on her front yard. But she got a Costco card and charges pennies on the dollar for our favorite sweets. We get $1 worth of candy in a plastic sandwich bag that we share. After my basketball drills, I walk around the barbed gate of the neighborhood pool. I climb into the blue-green water and float for days. Really, I only got an hour before the pool closes, but I don't care when I'm floating. It lets me think. My eyes closed, or searching the sky for animal figures, ice cream cones, and airplanes that skip across the blue up. The aqua water carries my legs and arms, a body of girl and whoosh. When I'm too tired to move my calves and arms, I climb out the water and feel less rubber band and more light. Most days the water burns everything, my nose and eyes, and even my hair is too dry, but I feel clean. I feel more me than when I arrived. Laylee meets me after the pool. She ain't get in the pool, but she still wears her tube top bikini, a towel draped around her shoulder like a comma. She bites at her cuticles, and I already know. It's been almost 2 years since silly boys slapped water in the pool. Now the boys are gone, and it's just me floating like a log while mommy and me classes happen in the shallow end. My muscles hurt after playing horse alone. A girl on the basketball court ain't no different than any other baller if you work hard enough. That's what my cousin Inga says. She's the first one to teach me to hold the globe with both hands, to use my right hand to guide the ball. Finally, out of the pool, I can see the harsh water peels my skin. I don't have any cocoa butter on me, so I pull my legs up, crisscross applesauce, and focus on Laylee. When she bites her nails, it's not because she's nervous, more like anxious and angry, and it's always about her mama. So what happened? I ask, and she frowns at her hands, then covers her face from the dipping sun. She shrugs, and instantly I feel bad. I know what it feels like to have too much to say, so much you can't speak. I make noise when I'm nosy. I slap the mosquitoes gnawing at my legs. It's been a year since we talked about her mama, but that's the only thing that bothers her enough to ruin her perfect nails. But Laylee don't sweat it. She don't swing at the mosquitoes. She don't even miss a beat. That woman been gone so long, I can barely remember what she looks like. I can't imagine what it's like to forget my mother's face. I sit quiet and wait for her story to unfold. My mama's still on drugs and my daddy ain't got time for all that. He doesn't want us girls to see her like that. He says every child deserves to be the sun, to know they come from the sun. And if the sun snuff itself to dusk before its time and no shine is left to see, let it be. One day we woke up and she was already a cloudy shadow of herself. Then one day we woke up and she was gone. She only come home when she clean. She only call home when she's sorta sober. She ain't never remembered my birthday or my sister's birthdays, and I'm like, whatever. When you live where we live, you say what it is, and if you can't say what it is, or if it hurts too much, or maybe it's just too confusing, you say whatever. That way, you ain't no lie. Laylee laughs, like the joke's on everybody but her. Laylee squints into the mirror and pouts. Laylee applies more lipstick than a little. Laylee takes my lip gloss as backup just in case. Laylee says, "It's so boring here, let's call Sean." I laugh like the joke is on Sean. He's her old crush and first real boyfriend since her mama left the house. But then I realized she just called my house boring. and now my feelings are hurt. Laylee say, don't be like that. I ain't mean nothing by it. Laylee pull my ponytail a little. Laylee is forgiven again. Snitches get stitches. So I know how to mind my own business and make sure I don't tell everybody the things I know. It's funny, I ain't realized how much silent sauce I got until someone stopped talking when Laylee walks by. Everything go quiet, like midnight black, like static on the TV, like the sound my mama made that time I asked, where is my daddy? Or the sound my mama made that time I asked, what is prison? I know what silence sounds like. Laylee and I haven't talked not once since the phone call with Sean. It's been a whole week, and the argument has grown teeth, buried its fangs into our friendship and won't let go. I tried to shake it loose, even after she accused me, you trying to break me and Sean up. Her and Sean been on and off all summer. He goes to the high school on the west side of town and has one of the freshest high tops. She say, you trying to break me and Sean up. And I think I want my friend back, but not like that. Just want to be able to talk to the only one who cares about how I look when I leave the house. Girl, brush your hair. Just want to be able to talk to the only one who cares about how I look. Lil, give them basketball shorts a break. Even when she gets on my nerves and fixes me up with boys who can't seem to stand me, the same boys who get mad when I beat them on the court, they say I talk too much mess. I say only on the court. And I ain't no liar. On the court is where it belongs. With Laylee, I don't have to think too hard. I'm the friend of the star and I don't mind, not at all. It gives me time to think about my dreams and the WNBA. But when I call Laylee, and she doesn't pick up, a pit in my stomach grows like a redwood tree. A week later, and Laylee still avoids me like the plague, or a pop quiz, or a dentist appointment, or that person who just ate onions for lunch. She doesn't pick up my calls, and now I see her with Samantha, Octavia, Tisha, and Tiffany. So I start to spend every day after school at the basketball court doing drills. I think maybe today I'll run into Laylee at the pool. Maybe today she will show up. Maybe today she won't be mad at me anymore. Maybe today she treat me better than dirt. I only get sad when I round the corner and see only the mommy and me group is in the pool. I pull off my basketball shorts and tug the straps of my stupid swimsuit before I dive into the deep end. Okay, so I'm gonna take you a little bit further. Basketball drills number 2. My sister Issa is the smart one. I shoot, swish. But she also lies so much. I think it's her favorite song. I shoot, swish. She lies so much, she never knows when the truth sneaks up. I shoot. She lies so much, it sounds like a history lesson. Miss. She lies so much, she'll make you believe rain is a color coming down out the sky. I shoot. And when she lies like she do, I still think she makes rainbows. Miss. When we pull into the parking lot and everybody and their mama is here at the mall, nannies and grandmamas and strollers and loud babies wailing, teenagers with scooters and three-wheelers, helmets that match their checkered vans, girls from private school in their mandatory uniforms, folded up above the knees, sit against the entryway and watch the coordinated chaos. Issa moves like royalty, her head upright and her shoulders squared. When she isn't angry with me, she beams like her dimples are a gift to the world. I walk behind her and Inga, awe and inspired. I straighten my shoulders, paste a smile on my face. I'm more happy inside than I am on the outside, but I feel like this is what I should do. Even though I'm wearing my old cutout jeans, it feels good to walk with my family and not have to worry about if they like me or not. And when I think it can't get no better, Inga turns around after we pass the pretzel spot in the food court and winks. I think you got a fan, Lil. She points to the group of guys sitting on a bench with her short and shiny manicured nails. And before I can figure out who she's talking about, the tallest one from the bunch moves forward. He is wearing a pair of camouflage cargo pants and flannel patterned shirt. His hat covers his brown eyes, but I can tell he's looking right at me. He walks away from his group and I see some of the boys from the basketball court. Today they look at me different. It must be the outfit. He walks closer to me, 5'11". His hands in his pockets, I think my heart could fit in his hands. He smiles a little and I decide I could like him. What's up? I'm Clifton, he says. His eyes never move from my face and it's so intense. It's like I'm in the pool again, underwater, holding my breath. My arms are floating away, away, away from my body. I'm in the mall though, but in my head, I'm in the pool after practice and I get the same calming feeling I get when I jump into the deep end blue and sink until I rise again. Left arm, right leg kick, right arm. Left leg kick, butterfly, till both arms lift out the sort of sea together. But I'm not in the pool, I remind myself. But in my chest, I begin to backstroke, to open my eyes and check out the sky. I wade in the teal azul when the fire burns my chest. Even in the cold pool, I know I must be careful. I don't want to sink. I don't want to sink. If I'm not careful like now, I could lose my breath. My first time out with Clifton, and I know the world is going to end. Mama don't play that company over when grown folks out the house business. And even though Issa is home with cousin Inga, they ain't grown. They're just teenagers with a curfew that ain't dictated by the sun going down and the streetlights coming on. They're just teenagers who curse when the neighbors are looking, but never when their own parents are looking, because they ain't got a death wish. They're just teenagers with a taste for the kind of freedom they've only seen on sitcoms, the kind with two-parent households, not homes like ours. More like Inga's mom, Auntie Renee, who saves coupons and works every day, clockwork ready for the water company. More like Inga's mom, Auntie Renee, who on her day off will drive by different houses with for sale signs plastered in their yard. Her bright eyes dancing and singing Luther Vandross to whoever is in the passenger seat. More like Mama, who tells me to ignore Issa's attitude because she works too many hours and ain't got time to listen to our argument when she finally comes home. More like Mama, who calls me her baby, mostly because I'm the last born, who works too many hours to make it to my basketball games, and the house better be clean because you don't want to get on her bad side. More like Mama, the sweetest woman I've ever known, who still got rules that we better follow because ain't nobody in the house more grown than her. The rules are easy. No boys in the house when I'm gone. Nobody who don't live here in the house when I'm gone. Who left on the light? Who do you think you are? Nobody mess up the kitchen before I get home to cook. Nobody eat all the cereal. Nobody eat all the bread. Nobody go begging for food like we're poor. You trying to make me look like a bad parent? You acting like you don't know no better? No, you can't go over to that house. Yes, you can go to the park. Be back before dark. Nobody walked the dog. Nobody folded the clothes. Who do you think I am? I work all day and got to come home and work too? No fighting in the house. No running from fights. That school better not call my phone. Don't steal snacks from the store. We ain't broke. Make ramen for snack. Make a peanut butter sandwich. Don't use all my butter. Don't eat all my cheese. Take the chicken out the freezer. Ain't nobody take the chicken out the freezer. Nobody call my phone unless the house is on fire. Watch your mouth. Who do you think you're talking to? I'm not one of your little friends. Okay, so I'm gonna jump a little more. I ain't never been good at lying. To lately, I say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but I ain't never been a good liar. Mama told me so. She said, you got a way of repeating back a question until it sounds old and worn, like shoes with bad soles. And no one can believe a story with all them pauses. After fourth grade, I learned you think you smart is a threat. In high school, without no daddy to show me how to dribble or pivot, with a sister who act like she hate me, and a cousin who more sister than cousin, I figure I'm safer if I stay away from the light. Ain't no daddy to say move right, right, left. Mama worked for everyone, so I don't hold my breath, just stay away from the spotlight. The light gets too hot for brown girls like me to feel safe. This is when I learned to play not as smart. This is when I learned to keep my hands in my lap during Mr. Bokobi's class. This is when I learned to not run as fast. This is when I stopped beating the boys and running and kickball and tetherball and t-ball. This is how I learned to play not as big, because nobody got time for a girl outshining them. My big cousin Inga asked me, who you playing small for? And I pretend I don't know what she's talking about. She's 5'11" and the tallest woman in our family. She's a basketball coach for the little kid league during summer. And after she saw I had handles in the fourth grade, she ain't let me drop the rock since. Who you playing small for means I don't get to slink into the corner. I don't get to find a home in the shadow, not when there is a court nearby. Inga attends downtown community college and talks to Issa almost every day. But sometimes it's like they don't even like each other. When Issa and Inga's arguments get too big and Issa screams into the phone, then it's weeks before I see Inga again. I'll come home from the pool and she'll be on the porch or sitting on the hood of her mama's car, waiting for Issa to come home from her classes at State. She'll shrug when I say, where you been? And then say, I love her, but I don't like her. Most times I think if we weren't related, we wouldn't be around each other at all. When she's at the house, we go straight to the court. She makes me play her one-on-one. She hits the ball out my hand if I'm sloppy. She kicks at my feet planted and shakes her head. Play D. Lil, what did I teach you? Inga calling me Lil tells me I'm someone's sister. Inga calling me Lil shows me I'm not out here on my own, and everything I do means something to someone else. And just like that, I begin to play for keeps. On the court, there is no mercy. I'm a baller, and I don't care who is bothered by all the space I take up. There is a rumor going around, and I know it got my name on it. That's how Trey got shot. That's how Tanisha got. Rumors be the worst thing since government cheese. Grandma Maxie say, hands crisscrossed across the chest means you got something to hide. She also say, make a cheese sandwich for after school snack, no matter the stomach ache that comes for me. Let Tanisha tell it, keeping to yourself won't save you. She was just at the bus stop, and the girls jumped her for wearing blue, and the girls jumped her for talking to their boyfriends at the mall, and the girls jumped her because she thinks she cute. And I don't want my name attached to a beatdown or a rumor, but the laws of the school say I got at least one, if not both, coming for me. I figure it's the rumor, because it gets too quiet when I walk into a room, like even my breath is being judged. And my whole stomach turns on itself tight and rock hard like I just ate one of those cheese sandwiches. I wish I could ask Laylee what happened. Why is everyone staring at me? But I got too many questions and not one person to depend on for answers. Have you ever started a rumor? Like, not on purpose. Maybe you shared a secret and the secret got wings. And then someone shared that same secret with wings, except they gave it a candle because it was too dark or something. Maybe they needed some light. And maybe the wings took flight with the light, and maybe they shared that same candle-winged thing with someone that don't know or don't care, and in the wind that flame goes, lighting up all the dead. Do you know how it can start? Slow, like a burn or a tickle, until it's not funny anymore. It feels like a needle pressing down before the nurse gives the vaccination shot. It feels like a joke that everyone is laughing at except the person they're joking about. Instead of laughing, that warm glow that grows inside your chest and hands and crawls across your cheeks like some uncontrollable kind of happy, it feels more like closing your eyes tight, so tight, the air can't get in and the water can't get out. Can you feel that sting? That's how it feels, like a forever sting. I'll just read a couple of more. I don't want to give it all the way away. Okay. So this is the fun part about writing a novel in verse. You want to like have an entire story come together, but also I want to surprise you. So I'm trying to make sure I pull things apart that you can catch up with, and I won't leave you anywhere, okay? Okay. Inga says, because Inga really has the best advice, play smarter. You can't beat everyone. Sure, you may outrun someone, but they always catch up. You can outthink someone, but they'll always catch on. If they box you out, you make a new box. You make them play your game. Think of your team. What are their strengths? What are your strengths? Now play smart, not small. Think quick, but think good. You have everything you need. Where's the rock? Where's the rock? Where's the rock? Focus, breathe, sprint, focus, leap, focus, dribble. Where are you? In your head? Nah, you got to be 2 steps ahead of the strongest adversary. Be 2 steps ahead of anyone that tries to put you down because you're a girl. Being a Black girl and a Black girl baller is a whole set of rules you never see coming. Know the rules, so you know which ones you need to break. Are you a baller? Then honor the baller. Play your position. Let your team be a team. Let them be their best selves. Your endurance is not your only ability. Your strength is not to run fast or ball the hardest. Your superpower is to see what your team needs and show up for them. Be agile, because you can. You got to keep swinging, little cousin, because you're the real prize. And those that respect you and love you will keep it 100. Won't play you small or play you at all. Remember, somebody sees you. Even when the sky looks pitch black and you can't see the outline of your own hand, even when there are so many moving parts and you can't find the man on your team, you're never really alone. See? A real leader knows there is no such thing as a one-person team. If you think there is, you've already lost. Everything is a game. Some folks be playing to win the house. Some folks be playing to win the job. Some folks be playing to win the car. Some folks be playing to win the spotlight. Everything is a game to be won. But some of us are playing for things that last longer than material things. Once you figure out what you're gaming for, then you can play honest and with integrity. If you show up and show the world your real self, you don't have to wait for others to claim you. You don't have to wait for others to pick you. You pick yourself. I mean, really, choose yourself every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mahogany. That was beautiful and amazing. Okay, we have a few questions coming in. The first question is, what are the challenges and benefits of writing children's books and young adult fiction as opposed to other genres? And what inspired you to write for younger audiences?
Thank you for that question. So the benefits are you get to try out new voices. You get to think about what you would have said if you were in that position again with a more steady hand. Personally, I did not think that I would write YA. I didn't think that my voice would be celebrated because I was speaking from a very distinctive place and time. But what I realized is not just the diversity of voices, but the diversity of stories, right, that our young people are living themselves, are not always in the books that are around them. And so what a better way to become a part of this YA world, this YA canon, than to think about this moment when I was 14 and a friend, my best friend, was laughing at me with these other people during a pool party, and use that as the framework for this story. While it's a novel in verse, I'm able to tackle so many different themes. So you hear me talking about colorism, you hear me talking about gender roles, you hear me talking about pretty politics, the impact of mass incarceration, single family homes, sibling rivalries, and there's more things in there. We talk about consent, and I didn't want to have a pretty bow for everything. I don't think that that's healthy. I don't think that it's likely. I wanted to offer a story that allowed the reader to try and muss about with an idea of how to be better. Like, one, there is no good or bad, right? We all can fluctuate. We all can make poor choices. Lately, I think everybody's been Laylee at one point, and everybody has been Sky at one point. We all have been someone's villain, even if we don't know it, if we don't realize it. So I wanted to offer the reader a space for them to really pivot and oscillate between who they are in the world and look and see how they're affecting others, to hopefully generate more kindness, more awareness.
Thank you. Mahogany, Fallon wants to know, is there anything that feels important to your writing process, such as, is there a time of day when writing is more inspiring to you, or do you like to work on multiple things at once, or just one project at a time?
I work on multiple things. I work on too much, actually, but I do work on multiple things at once. And I don't mind that, because I don't think just in genre. I think, I don't know. I think my writing feels like just a recipe for gumbo. So if I want to write an essay, I allow myself that. And if this becomes a poem, then I allow that to happen. And if it's a collection of short stories, then, you know, I make space for that too. The one thing that I do gift myself is the space to write as much as possible. And usually in the winter, I was using like those 3 months to really like dive in 12 hours a day, just writing in residency space or creating my own residency space, but just giving myself, allotting that time to myself as a writer, as a creative person, to just unearth all the things that I've been like busying myself with, but not really able to articulate during the year. But usually, you know, I definitely participate in 30 poems in 30 days. So I have a poem due today by midnight. And they're not, listen, they're not all good. The idea is that you journal it, you write it, and you go back and you edit later, but you keep, you know, you keep massaging that muscle, that writer's muscle, so that it remains strong and able to respond to deadlines or commissioned work, just to keep myself, I don't know, not just happy, but like productive inside, not like I have to put out, but like, how do I feel? Am I making sure that I'm in touch with what's happening in my head?
Thank you, Mahogany. The next question we have is, what was your introduction into performance poetry, and what does spoken word offer that written poetry does not?
Good question. My introduction was in 1998. I did my first open mic in Oakland, California. It's on like the border of Berkeley and Oakland at Dorsey's Locker, which no longer exists. Shout out to Dorsey's Locker. That was my first time. I wrote a poem as a dare, and it was really bad. It was terrible. But they were so kind that it made me want to do poems for the rest of my life. Now, I didn't know if I would be doing them as a full-time artist. I just knew that I had to write that thing and go share it, because that interaction with the community made me feel seen and remembered and understood. What I love about performance poetry, because I don't think the written word is very different than the performance of it, depending on who you ask, obviously. But I go the effort to make sure that what is on the page can also live on the stage. And what I love about even writing this book, it wasn't complete until I read it out loud, recorded it, and listened back to make sure sonically it made sense. I like the musicality of someone who knows how to read a poem. I like the inward slant. I like the lilt of the language. And I think sometimes when you separate those two gestures, there's some humanity lost. There's some like, there's some good sauce there that we kind of forget is a part of the translation between poet and audience.
Thank you. Flynn wants to know, when you write, do you often find yourself deconstructing your sentences and rewriting them, or do they usually come out the way you envision them?
Definitely the former. I'm like, no. There's this really great, someone did like a GIF or a meme or something, and it's like typing, and then it's just like backspace the whole time for the same amount of time. I think it's a happy dance between the two. It depends what you are responding to. It depends what mood you're in, sure. I write, I read it back, I make sure that's what I want to say, but there are moments where I'm like, that's not the image I want, or that's not the sound I want. Like, that doesn't sound like something I would say, So yeah, I definitely think it's the former. You might hear my cat. Sorry, they're going crazy in there.
You might hear my cat too, honestly.
Okay, good. I'm like, they are tearing it up. I can't even go see what they are clawing at right now.
So my students and I on Wednesday spent some time discussing your poem Marigold. And I was hoping you could talk about the inspiration for this piece and the kind of conflict between grief and romance the poem seems to address.
Yeah, I wrote Marigold during one of those 30/30s, and it was, I don't know, how can I explain it? I think I do a lot of I observe the poetry community a lot. I feel like I'm a communal artist. A lot of my work is responding to what is happening, but also the conversations that happen are a part of my own growth. And the one thing that I saw happening specifically in young writer circles is this suffering that was kind of heralded. Like, it was like put on this, like, oh my God, look what, I understand survival and I'm all about that. Yay, you. But there is it does sadden me that we only think that we can applaud survival. Like, there is joy, right? There is happiness. And working with young writers, specifically in the performance poetry slam world, there were moments where I felt like, some of the writing prompts that they were bringing back were like drenched in trauma. And so at one point I had to give a prompt, like, what makes you happy? Because literally we've been here for 3 weeks and every day is sadness. And I just want to know, when do you find happiness? Because they're actually like the most lovely kids, right? And I didn't understand why they couldn't attach any of the rest of their life to the page. And one of the young people, was quite honest. They were like, well, it's happy doesn't win slams. And I'm like, who cares? Like, that can't be the way in which we respond to the world. If all you're doing is writing to win a competition, then what is going to happen to the truth? When will we remember it? How will we find it? If we can't find it in you right now, who will tell the story of how we laughed together, how we shared food together, how we decided we weren't going to take the train, but we were going to walk together? Resilience is a beautiful thing, but so is joy, so is happiness. So I didn't want them to downplay that. And I think that was definitely a response to that energy of, you can't be happy, you have to be sad, you have to be, traumatized, you be mournful all the time to be worthy of being listened to and being celebrated.
Thank you. That's so astute and important, because I feel like there's that, pervasive trope of, the tortured artist. So that's so important. Thank you for sharing
Yes.
that. So Gabriel wants to know, how do you find your tone in a piece? How do you take a memory and make your audience able to feel that experience?
I think I'm still learning how to do that. I don't know. My tone is mine, I guess. Sometimes I sit down and I definitely tried to write funny poems before. It didn't work for me. So then I just had to make sure I was writing poems that were mine, like my voice. And sometimes I can be funny in how I say a word. And sometimes the memory is funny. So like, even thinking about Chlorine Sky, people laugh in the beginning when because Chlorine Sky was really based off of Blurred Vision. And when I did that poem, I started with, she thinks she cute, and everybody would fall out laughing. It was just like the way that you say it, which is what I love. I love the surprise element of trying to make a humorous turn in something that was obviously like painful. So my tone is really dictating what the narrative is, what the story is, what the moment is. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure all of it out. It depends on the day. It depends on who I'm reading, what show I'm binge watching. I don't know. I think we have so many parts to us. Every day is a new adventure. It's like, choose your own adventure, but in your body, poet.
You mentioned that you're a community poet, that you're responding to the community. And I was curious, when you write, who do you imagine your audience to be? And does this change as you revise?
My revision doesn't change with my audience, but the community I'm speaking to is the community that I'm interested in working with. And that means if you're looking for liberation, if you are looking for solidarity, if you're looking for equity and equality, this poem is for you. If you are not looking for those things, I encourage you to listen to these poems, so at least you feel shamed for not wanting liberation for all. I said shame. I don't know if I meant shame. That was pretty judgy. Nah, I mean it. No hate allowed. Sorry. It's gotta stand up for something.
Glenn wants to, he says, your writing is so descriptive and lyrical. So is there a process or maybe like a person that you run that stuff by in order to craft those sentences?
I used to have like workshopping spaces that really, really helped. Cave Canem, Rauschenberg with my roomie, Rachel Eliza Griffiths, the Global Poetics community with Jive Poetic and Ken Arkine. I had spaces and circles where I got to work with other artists so I could assure that my poems were tip-top shape. But now it really depends. It depends if I have an editor. So I think that knowing who I am and knowing what I want to say, and then having an editor I can trust. Even with Chlorine Sky, this was the first time that I worked with Phoebe Ye, who is amazing. But the person who got me interested in writing YA was Jason Reynolds. So when I received my first copy of The Galley, I was devastated because it wasn't my voice. It wasn't like what I thought I wanted to sound like or what I knew I could sound like. And he's known me for a decade plus. So, you know, hitting him up and being like, I need you to help me right now because this is wrong and I'm going to cry. And actually I did cry, but I was like, I'm going to like lose it and I'm going to lose my contract and this is going to be the worst thing ever. And I like went off the deep end for like a good 7 minutes. And he was like, relax, we're going to just edit it line by line, you know, chapter by chapter. And that really helped me. So I would say if you have someone that you trust who knows not just your voice, but your intention, they may not even be a writer themselves. They may not be a poet, but someone who understands like, you know, the gravity of what your work is trying to do, refer to them if you find yourself in a tough spot, because they really saved me.
You're finishing a collection of essays on mass incarceration. How did your writing process differ for this project compared to your other work, if at all? And I'm also just, you know, really curious to hear, I mean, obviously I want to buy the book and read the essays, but I know you were thinking about how does mass incarceration really affect women and girls? And so I'm just curious to hear what that process was like writing those essays. And
Yeah, right. Okay. So I received a fellowship from the Agnes Gunn Fund, Arts for Justice, Bearing Witness Fellowship through the Agnes Gunn Fund. So it's all, you know, connected. And it's designed specifically for artists who are responding to mass incarceration. I wanted my work to focus on women and children because I am a child of someone who's been in prison for the majority of my life. So I didn't want to keep talking about it in circles and other ways. I wanted to really just give my eye just to that and not worry about anything else. In doing so, I was able to interview everyone from Miriam Kaba to Clint Smith to Russell Craig, folks who learned how to read in prison to folks who were prison abolitionists. And what did not work for the essays became a part of the poem. The poem is called, it's a book-length poem called I Remember Death by Its Proximity to What I Love. And that will be out in September, and the essays will come out in 2022. So September 21 is the poem, the book-length poem, and the essays come out next year. But the difference was I was responding directly to moments, interviews, musings, and when those, like when there was like a disjointed, disconnected moment, I allowed that feeling, those emotions, and that those words to live in the body of the poem, so that I wasn't losing anything. You know, I didn't want to lose anything in translation just because it wasn't the correct genre. And even though the essays, they're lyric essays, they're prose essays, some of them are just, you know, Q&A. I think I have Patricia Smith. I mean, it really was a delight, but also quite scary because I had never given myself the time to think about this machine that changed my life. I just kind of always thought about, oh, someone did something bad. I never thought, oh, this was actually a setup, and this is how, you know, this is how prison industrial complex works. And until we are looking at demystifying, you know, carceral systems, then we're always going to kind of just think you did something bad, you deserve. So it allowed me to not only think about the communities that impacted, but also I began to dive into a world of what if there were no prisons. So Angela Davis's Why Are Prisons Not Obsolete, or Should Prisons Be Obsolete, is a great book. You should read it twice. And I also began studying like restorative justice and transformative justice values. And it really it changed literally my entire, the way I look at the world. I used to just think, oh, we're just going to call the cops. And then what, right? And now in a time where we watched more and more young people marginalized voices, Black and brown people brutalized by this police brutality, then it made me like really stop and think, what am I trying to do? Does this person need, mental health assistance? Do they need a social worker? Like, there's something else that we can respond to the community needs with. It can't be just punishment, because punitive damages, it's not working anymore, right? We have people going to prison, and the recidivism rate is always upticking because there's no way to gauge how to take care of yourself, your mental health, when you're locked up. So when you are pushed back into the world and you have no community, no one to check in with, no one to check into, nowhere to check into, then it's like you're like kind of free falling. So how do we assure that that cycle doesn't continue? And the poetry is always a way to humanize it. The essays were a way for me to understand it.
Elena wants to know something, to the end of about like you being published. How and when did you know that you could make a successful career as a writer? And what was it like when you were published for the first time?
That's a great question, because I've been published since 2003, even though I self-published, right? So that's a totally different world, completely. In self-publishing, it was manageable. I knew where every ounce of my time and dollar went. And it felt good. It felt good to be able to hand over a book and get a distribution deal and know my books were in independent stores. And it felt good to know that it was possible to write these books on my own, without having to be managed, or without having to think about am I saying it right, or will I offend, the politics over here. Being published by a publisher, by someone else, was equally as good, maybe less stressful in a sense that I didn't have to think about, when the book was coming out, who was proofreading it. Like, there's a team behind it, and I get to just be the artist. And it was, my first small publisher was in 2014. So that's 7 years of just me doing it on my own. Maybe 10 years, 10 years of me just doing it on my own. And then after that, I didn't get published 2014 to 2000. Yeah. So then 3 years later, I got published by a Big 5 publisher, and it was even it was even less stress. I was like, oh, I just write and turn. That's amazing. So it feels like sometimes it feels like Club Med. Truly, I kind of forget that I have things to do, so I busy myself with, like, I'm going to do an IG live, and I'm going to do, like, I'm really one of those persons that if I have too much time down, I feel like I'm going to mess up and just be a slacker. And that's not a good way to be either. Don't listen to that part. That's my own burden to carry. I'm unpacking it as we speak. But being published in what they call the self-publishing vanity world, to the small publishing, to the Big 5, the large publishers, all have their pros and cons. The less hands I had on that baby project or the small press of my own choosing, the more I was happy with, every single thing that happened once it was in my hand. Whereas I have to really make sure I am coupled with someone who I trust to midwife my project properly. And I've been very lucky. Both of my publishers, Macmillan and Crown, have been amazing, have been absolutely amazing. And I'm very lucky that I found two homes where they care about how I feel about the work. Because some people, they just like, we don't care if you don't like it, this is what's happening. And I didn't have that happen to me. I'm very, very lucky in that way.
Thank you, Mahogany. All right, we just have one final question for you. I'm curious to hear, what projects you're excited to work on or that you are thinking about in the future. It seems like you're always coming up with new genres and ways of thinking about things.
Thank you, Chelsea. What am I doing? Too much. Oh, so I did finish the Chlorine Sky TV treatment. So the possibility of this being a TV series, knock on wood. And I just turned in my final edits for Vinyl Moon, which is YA novel number 2. And it is based on someone in Chlorine Sky. You may have seen them if you read the book. So Vinyl Moon comes out January 25th, 2022.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Chlorine Sky might be on TV. That's huge.
I'm ready.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mahogany. It was an absolute pleasure hearing you read and sharing and answering our questions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you everyone in the audience. Again, Deborah Magpie Earling will be here on Monday at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.